All right, folks, we're back. I had to answer that phone call. What we're going to do now, this foam tack is all nice and set up on these, on the tail part. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook the tail like this onto the rest of the fuselage. Now, I've already tested all this. These all work. What you're going to want to do, I'm going to do something a little bit different so that I can demonstrate this. Let me find me a little popsicle stick here. Well, you know what? I'll use the end of my brush here. This time, instead of using foam tack like I did here, I'm going to use 5-minute epoxy. That way I can demonstrate how to use that. A lot of people say, well, epoxy, I don't ever. It's insanely simple. I was a little put off by epoxy at first, but once I realized that it's simple and it has an extremely good bond, I like the 5-minute epoxy. What I like to use is the Bob Smith Industries 5-minute epoxy. I am going to have to find me a popsicle stick though, real quick. Hold on just a moment. Moved everything around, so now I don't necessarily know where everything is. So, anyways, I like these big popsicle sticks. All right, so what you're going to do for 5-minute epoxy, it's equal parts. And what I do, you got your resin, you got your hardener. So, you're going to clip the ends off of them. And you don't have like a mountain amount of time, but you do have a little bit of time. Little caps in here. Cap here, and everything's color coded. Your black is your resin, your red is your hardener. Put your caps back on. Okay. That way that's ready to mix. What we're going to do, since the tail's going to go on here like this, and I'm going to need some room to work, what I'm going to do is move the A10 down here like this, and so that you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and connect, since it's going to connect like this, I'm going to go ahead and set it off like this. And these are all labeled, elevator to elevator, rudder to rudder. Well, the elevators are labeled, but then by default, your rudder is what's left. So light to light, dark to dark. It has these little quick connect lockers in there that do not let go. So you don't have to put like, and Rich's, in his A10, it didn't have these little locking clips. So he said put tape on there, which if I didn't have these little locking clips, then that's what I would do, but mine does. So I don't have to worry about that. You're gonna hit light to light, dark to dark, feel it clicked in. Now I know my elevator is all nice, okay? And then of course this leaves the rudder. Now the rudder here, however, does not have one of those little, yes it does, you feel it click in. It is tight, but for that one, I am going to put some tape since it doesn't have that little locking mechanism. I like using Gorilla tape. That's just me. I've always liked using Gorilla packing tape. I use it as a artificial hinge on something. I use it for a lot of stuff. Packing, obviously. Just a good, solid, so you're going to want to do a test fit. You don't want to be trying to fiddle with this to get it to work once you got all your resin from your epoxy. Okay. Fit all that in there. All nice and purty. And that just tongue and grooves right on in there. Just like that. So I think what I'll do to make my life easier is I'm going to take all these things and I'm going to tape them up and see if I can get them to fit as a solid piece. That's a pretty wide channel, so I'll just take these, but I'm going to try this first before I even start messing with epoxy. I'll try this first. Them all in one big conglomeration and see if I can't fit that in there like that first. But like I said, this is just something I'm going to try. And if it works well, then that'll be a free build tip that you can use. And I don't charge extra for. All right, and that sits down in there nice and pretty. Like that. There's a little bit of resistance, but all them wires seem to be tucked down in there pretty good. So let's go ahead and this is just one of the little fiddly things that you have to do. Make sure there's nothing on either side sticking out. Okay. And that's pretty well in there. So all right. Like that. So I think I'm going to continue with that idea. A little bit of room there I'm not using. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's mix our 5-minute epoxy. And literally, when they say 5-minute epoxy, it's what they mean. They mean 5-minute epoxy. Now what you do is you take your resin, and what I like to do is I'll put just enough to fill the bottom of the cup, okay? And that'll spread out to about a 50-cent piece size. And then I'll put the exact, and I'm just eyeballing it, the exact same amount, or say the exact same amount, basically, same amount of hardener on there. And I'm going to mix that up, get that good and mixed up, okay? Really get that all mixed up. Now, I'll go ahead and have you some painter's tape handy, but doesn't stick to the paint, which is painter's tape. It's great about that. Doesn't stick to paint. And mix that up, and I'm going to put a liberal amount on all the connecting surfaces here. Okay. All right. Okay, put that off to the side. Get that in there. Now you're going to want to take a tool to get your wires all in there nice. Make sure nothing is, might have a little bit of resin stick out the side, but that will come off. It might take some paint off, but it'll come off. Now you're going to want to put that, let that, oh shoot, I got some dripping. Let that sit down like that. Take a little bit of planer. Now if you had like a nice clamp you could put on here, that'd be good. But I don't have a clamp, so I'm going to put a piece of painter's tape to secure that on there. Okay? And turn that back over. Okay? And resin has resin and epoxy probably has the strongest bond of any of the RC glues that you can get. And for something like an elevator, the entire assembly like that, and I'm going to use 5-minute epoxy. That's just me. You can use CA, you can use even foam tack. Foam tack is excellent. I just wanted to use 5-minute epoxy on that just so that I could show you how you use it. Yeah, it's going to make some little bit of a glue resin there. Let me squeeze that together a little bit more. Let gravity be my friend here. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. I think I'm even going to put some weight on that. just to keep that from coming undone. Okay, some weight on there. Okay, well that's that for now. We're going to let that sit for a little while and let that harden. And let me make sure she's nice and even. I'll let that harden for a full 5 minutes, so we'll come back. All right, we're going to continue on now. We've epoxied the tail on, so basically we're also off camera while I still had some epoxy left in the cup. That, hold on just a second, I'll show you. I put my glue back together, man. That drop down pod sensor camera thing. I don't know what kind of sensor it is on the aircraft, on the actual A10 that hangs down right here. I went ahead and took the rest out of the resin, the epoxy that I had in there, and glued that on there. So this is why I like using, I mean, you got some strong paint on this E-flite model. That's why I like using your painter's tape. So I can secure items together and not have to worry about it pulling tape. Now, if you rip it off, yeah, you're going to take tape off or paint off. But if you're careful with it, that won't happen. So we're going to remove the tape here from the carefully pull that away. Don't rip it. Just let it kind of peel away naturally. Just a little bit of pressure. Now, understand, you know, epoxy is strong. So if some of it did leak out and then get into your tape, then you might pull a little bit of paint off. I'm just, yeah, see right there. I pulled a little bit of paint off. People say, well, that's unacceptable. Well, yeah, you're right. But I know that my tail ain't going to come off. So I'll take a little bit of missing tape paint for the trade-off of a nice, oh man, I lost a lot of paint there. But that's okay. That's part of modeling. Lost some paint. So that is on there. Okay. Let me show you the damage. Paint ain't even flown. I already got damage. Yeah, it took the paint off right there. But look what I got right here. Got Walmart crafting paint, gray. That's the exact same color. So I can just touch that up. I won't have any issues. All right, well that's basically, that part's done. Okay, the tail is on there. It's all nice and epoxied on. It is not coming off. I mean, that's on there. Now, one other thing to wrap this build up, because like I say, I'm not doing the electronics right now. I'm just simply doing the structure of it. And Rich at RC Informer would have showed you in his build video. They have a separate BEC, okay, that runs off the battery, that instead of run directly off from the lead from the receiver. You need to make sure, and you watch his build video on that, you need to make sure you secure that BEC on the side. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use two-sided tape, because it's got two connections, two soldering points that, yeah, get you a nice big roll of this. It's got two soldering points that if you continue to yank on that, and right here, I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. Let me try to show you. There's two soldering points on either side of this BEC, And if you continue to yank on that, yank on that, yank on that, pulling your battery in and out, and you fatigue it, and then it lets go during flight, well, once again, you have a flying piece of debris that whenever it hits the ground, the more than likely is going to be a bunch of confetti debris. And because you've lost your model then. So you've crashed your model because you've lost all receiver power. And there's no hope of recovery at that point. So, well, I'm not real crazy about how that. You know what I might do? Might just use some Velcro on that instead. So let me pause for just a minute. All right, folks, let me make sure we're recording here real quick. Just to show you real quick, I may not do all of it, but the stickers that are inside the manual, one of the pages, are color coordinated, and you can match them up with the paint scheme here. And it's pretty obvious how they go on, and just cover everything up nice, and they just line right up with everything. So it's very easy for you to follow along just how these stickers go on. So it's very, very simple. They're color coordinated, they match, and they just blend right in. It's very obvious how that's done, and that's basically it. Got the receiver hatch somewhere that goes there, so in case you're wondering what's going on up there, I got the receiver hatch or the hatch off. I don't know where it's at. But anyways, that's pretty much it as far as the build. Next video, I'll go ahead and get her bound up, and I'll show you. Well, I'm gonna bound it up by the book, as far as what the book says. But if you're getting this model, it should be a given that this is not your first model. This should not be a first plane. This is an intermediate to advanced flying plane. So I'm not going to necessarily do a radio setup. I will show you probably tell you my rates and everything at the field. More than likely, I'll do 100% throws over 30% expo on everything. That's usually what I do. I'm very comfortable with that. But honestly, when you get to this level of flying, you fly something first at a baseline, and then you adjust from there. Same thing with flap settings. I'll put it by the book, and then I'll adjust it to my taste one way or the other. And that's really where you need to get to, is use your CG. Use your CG based upon the manual, and then adjust your battery backwards and forwards to where you're happy. If it's too nose heavy, then put the battery back some. If it's too tail heavy, then put the battery forward some. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's basically the build. So there you go, folks. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful day.